Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and I'm here with page 30 of hashtag Mixed Media March 25. Can you believe it? Day 30. One more day to go. I'm tired, but I'm really excited. So what I decided to do for today, I took the dog out for the walk this morning, which I take the dog out for a walk every morning. And it was an absolutely glorious, beautiful sunrise here. One of those oranges and yellows and reds. One of those, red sky in the morning, sailor's warning. I think that's how it goes. But whatever, it's been a nice day all day and I've got washing on the line. And I thought, you know what, today I just want to play on my gel plate. So I pulled out the 12 by 12, I pulled out the 5 by 7 gel press. I got my 4-inch speedboard brayer here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a 12 by 12 using sort of the sunrise colours, pretty much, using the warm range instead of the cool. I tend to do things like burgundy and Payne's grey and turquoise and teal and white and things like that a lot. And I thought, let's just dip into the warm palette. And once the piece is done, we will select, not we, because I can't hear you, I will find a piece within it to cut our panel, which I think was 7¼ by 8½, I think it was. And then the remainder will either become, well, it depends on what's left. The remainder will either become tags, journal cards, artist trading cards, could even become postcards, might even become greetings cards, friends. I don't know, but I will just decide that when we get there. So I've got a piece of 250 GSM cardstock, which is a 12 by 12, and I've got a 15 by 15 piece of newsprint off-cut paper, which is what I use to clean my plate up. I've got a few other things hanging around. I've got mark making tools, and I've got a stencil by Becky Boker I want to use as well. So we're just going to have some fun. So first things first, I need to put down colour. And as I'm working with a warm palette, I think I'm going to put a mixture of these two down. Let's start bright and bold and beautiful, shall we? I'm not going to be too picky about stuff. I'm going to do stuff that pleases me today. It's nice to be creating without, I don't have a colour combo I have to follow. I don't have to promote anything whatsoever. I'm choosing to use Becky Boken's stencils, the little ones. I'll show them to you afterwards, because I just find they're lovely and I just want to play with them because they're a good visual texture. And that's going to come off there immediately. Just wipe my fingers on that before I get too covered in stuff. So yeah, I'm just having fun today. As I said, it's a lovely day. What day is it today? It's Saturday today, so throughout the night, the clocks here in the UK and Europe will bounce forward into spring, which is always a welcome thing by a lot of people. It means an hour less in bed, but you know what? I don't spend that much time in bed anyway, so I'm not worried about that. Right, I'm just going to pop this down and pick up something. And I tend to turn it around and put it back down because my 12 by 12 is an old plate. And over time it's got slightly distorted. I think that's just natural use. I mean, I know I condition my plate. I know I use it all the time. So I know these things happen. It's like what's the other one I've got? I think it's a 9 by something. Or is it 8 by 10? I think it's my 8 by 10, I think, is actually 9½ by 8 now. Right, let's put that up there. Let's just get this bit of something brayered out on there to clean my brayer. So, lots of great feedback on the challenge. Thank you very much for all your compliments about what I'm doing. Thank you so much to everyone else who's taking part. I'm so enjoying everything I'm seeing. To be honest, I'm trying every day to spend a little bit of time going through all the social media that I've got access to, which is pretty much Facebook and YouTube. And I'm liking, and if I can get time to do a comment, I will. But I'm seeing them, guys. I'm seeing them. It's just that there are so many posts that I can't possibly keep up with everything, which was the problem last year. I couldn't keep up with all you talented people. So I think you'll be seeing me doing likes a lot after the event when I've got time to look at them. So I've got a really nice, bright, sunshiny, even sunflower yellow on the go here. Right, This cloth is going to annoy me. I want it, but I don't want it under my feet. Right, I want to introduce a bit of orange this time. What's this? That's coral. I don't want coral. Let's add a bit of this. This is a mixed pot. I've actually decided that as my little bottles of paint run out, I am going to be starting to order Lucas Krill. We have Jackson's here in the UK, which is a big art supplier. I want to say it might even be in London. And I was looking on their website the other day because I know that I want to get the Lucas Krill Fern colour green because I really liked it. And I was looking on the internet at the price of Lucas Krill paint, and I was like, ooh, that's a bit pricey. But then when I went to Jackson's, it's pretty much £2 cheaper per bottle on their website. Plus, if I spend over £45, which is pretty easy when I'm spending money on paint, the price goes down because there's no postage and packaging. Over £45 is free postage and packaging. And then when I tried to do the math, because of course the bottles I'm using of paint are 60 mils, I think they are, normally 60 millilitres. But if you buy the larger ones of Lucas Krill, it's actually quite comparable when you look at it, the milliliter per pound. That's sort of how I work things out, just to see that it's good value. And I know this is a really weird thing to say, but it comes in a nice bottle. And I know that when I've run out of that paint, I will wash out that bottle and I will keep that bottle for future paint supplies. I know it's a weird thing to think of, but I do think of those things because tubes do my head in. These little bottles are fine, but they also do my head in. And I want a reasonably nice big squeezy bottle. Right, so I'm starting to build up my sunrise here. I want to come in with white. You know me, I add white pretty much every other layer. So I'm getting the very last bits of this out of here. This is another one that's done my head in. I don't know what it is because these tubes of paint are normally absolutely fine. Never have any problem with Winsor Newton or any of the brands. The Liquitex, the Pebeo, none of them I have problems with those. But that one, I don't know whether it was just manufactured incorrectly, but it just constantly leaks. And no matter how much I clean the lid of it, next time I go back, it's full of paint again. It's a weird one. Right, don't do that. Right, I'm just going to do my touching down technique. So I'm just kissing the plate, just picking up pieces along the way, not looking for a solid impact. Right, and I'm going to come in with my piece of newsprint. Now, this newsprint offcut paper, I've had a few questions and I was considering doing a roundup, a follow-up video on it, but I don't know whether I am. I'm probably just going to tell you as I go along. That's looking lovely. Now, you've seen I'm not hugely gentle with paper. I am finding that if I use this newsprint as cleanup like this, and I've even done some gel printing on it just to make sure that I can, it's quite robust. What I would say though is when you put it down with matte gel medium, which is how I put it into my art journal, the moment you use something like a liquid glue on it, it acts very much, it gets really, really soft. So it's easy to use. It's a bit how you would deal with wet strand tissue is how I deal with it when I put it into my art journal. But once it's in the art journal and it's dried on the surface, it's completely fine again. So, and I do quite like this slightly off-white colour. Let's see if I can find one I just did. Right, here you go. This was one of them. So this is a back page of my personal art journal. I'll see that I've got another one in here. I did a couple and I can't remember where they are. I know I'm not doing a flick through this journal. This journal I'll share it with you when, oh, there's another one. I'll do a flip through this journal when it's actually finished, which is probably going to be a couple of years' time. So, right, so we've got our white on here. I'm liking that so far. Don't want to put red into it just yet. Try to think. I now want to play around with. I don't want red, not yet. Even if I do want red, I may not put it in. But I've got, where is it? I've got this caramel colour, which I'm absolutely loving lately. And I think I want to put some of this on, but I don't want a huge amount of it. I just want pieces of it. And I've still got white on here, which doesn't bother me because I'll just brayer it off on something else. There you go. So just want to get this. I like this caramel colour. I'm sure it's, they call it caramel. I'm sure it's probably part of the ochre family or something like that. But I just quite, there's something about it that appeals to me. Just take away some of the acidity of that yellow. That's getting interesting. Right, see, there's lots of depth there, and that's how I work, you know. Right, let's take this up with us. So should I use a stencil or should I go straight into mark making? That's the question. Now the stencil I want to use is only a small set, well, it's part of a stencil set. It's 4 individual stencils. I'll show it to you as soon as I've cleaned this plate off. Ooh, that's looking yummy. Okay, this is the stencil set. It's by Becky Boken. It's called Sweater Weave, and it comes in 4 different styles. Becky Boken is one of the other designers in the stable of designers at PM Artist Studio. If you wish to find any of our products, go to the bottom of my description box. There's a link there that says Ceri Griffiths Designs at PM Artist Studio. Click that, it'll just take you through to the website and my products. But at the top of the page, there's a search bar. You can just search anything you want from there. So here are the actual stencils. So can you see them? You can't see them. Right, I need to put something behind this Griffiths. Right, let's pull this in. So that should be able to be seen. So there you go. So that's the large one. That one's got like, it's almost an infinity run. It goes off into the distance. We've got this one, which is, I reckon, a smaller version of this one. And then we've got this one, which is sort of an hourglass effect, or both to horizon. So these 2 I'm not going to use today. I will put them in my other stencils and use them in the future. But I'm really liking the idea of these 2. Let's take that out of the way. So I'm wanting to add this and this. Now, one is smaller, one is larger. So I can play with depth here, because when we look at scenery, things that are smaller appear further away. Things that are larger are closer to us. So I can play with depth perception here. I nearly didn't say that. Right, I'm going to put the bigger one to one side. I will be using it nearer the end. I think I'm going to actually use this size now. Because it's only this size, it means I don't have to do a whole plate's worth. I'm just going to put some now. There's yellow and orange on here, so I could get away with some purple. Right, this is a no brand purple. By no brand, it means it's probably just a couple of spare tubes and bottles of purple that I've had, and then I've added a little bit to it myself. Maybe a liquid version of it, or I've got a high flow version. I tend to do that a lot as I'm running low. So I'm just going to come in. If I remember, this purple isn't completely opaque. Turn that off there. Up you come. And I just tap it down onto there. I'm going to quickly wipe off the edges here, because I don't want those lines. I'm looking for pieces of interest. I'm not looking for pieces that tell everyone I've just used a stencil. gently press, gently press. And give it a bit more of a press now. Okay, that's not bad. Yes, I'm okay with that. Right, so just having to think. So, and I just laid it on top of here and printed that bit off. We will be doing that again in a moment. What I want to do though is just use up this bit of purple, so I don't waste the paint. So I'm looking at that now thinking I'd quite like to put cream into it and then come back in with the purple again to give it another push into the background. Do you know, it's really funny, whenever I do these sheets of cleanup, I always find that the cleanup is far more interesting than the thing I've created in the first place. Probably something I shouldn't be admitting at this point, but I find that's interesting. Right. Now I think this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down, put it down that way. I'm going to sit it on the plate and I'm going to skim my brayer down this. So I'm just letting the weight of the brayer do what it does. There you go. So you see how to do with a little bit there. So it just gives it a bit of that weathered look. Now this is quite a thick coating here, so there may come a point where I'm going to say I need to stop the video and give it a bit of a hairdryer moment. Right, so I've got that on there. I think I'll wait until I've got a little bit more on there before I put another layer of that purple on there. Right, so I'm getting there with all of this, just having a bit of a brief moment. I want to put red in here, but I'm really a bit cautious at the moment about how I want to put red into here. I wonder. Right, I'm going to bring in, this is quite like a burgundy type of red. As you can see, it's quite a dark red. I seem to have run out, I had a claret or a port wine red somewhere, and I can't find it, and I think I must have used it up and not realised I used it up. So I'm going to come in with this piece of wallpaper. Now I've had this piece of wallpaper a long time. You've probably seen it before, and I'm going to use it to print with. It never gives me a perfect print, and I never want it to give me a perfect print. I want it to give me that. And the more that I use this wallpaper, the more I get a build-up on it of paint, which means every time I use it, I get something even better. So this was a square from a wallpaper sample book. Absolutely loved it. It was one of the best things I ever did, was picking up this wallpaper sample. I'll leave that to one side. I'm just going to load this up a little bit. Brayer it directly on there. And then push this on top. And it's soft enough to go down into the gaps and grab stuff. So right, we're beginning to give that some sort of look. I'm not sure I am going to put the dark purple back in. I'm beginning to think I'd like to leave it sinking into the background, because I'm going to be using, sorry, I mean with this one, I think because I'm going to be using the small one as well, I think if I start adding more dark, see how beautiful that comes off? Right, there's a bit in there. I think I can get that out of there. Come on, fingertips, in you go. There you go. I knew there was something in there. Right, I'm going to leave this out because it just needs to fully dry before I put it back in the drawer. Right, this is needing something and I can't work out what it is. I think the purple was the right idea. What I think, however, is it was the wrong purple. Let's see what I've got. I think I'm going to have a go with this one, actually. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, as they say. Oh. And I think I'm going to do the same as I did with the cream. I'm going to skip the brayer. Yes, I think that's what I needed. I don't really want to cover up the wallpaper bits because I really like those. Right. Yes, I was glad I did that. There was just something about it that wasn't working for me, and I think the purple I used to put on Becky Boken's design was what I would call a dirty purple. It lacked a bit of vibrancy. Just pick up some of that there, some of that there, and give it a good clean up. So, right, well, that's sat thinking about itself. Yes, I'm glad I did that. That was what this needed. I will be doing stamping on this as well, or I might just be doing mark making. I'm not 100% certain yet. But yeah, I think I'm going to have to dry this because that's quite a thick coating. So bear with me, guys. I'm just going to hit pause and I've got to get this dry. And I'm back. And I just realised why I subconsciously put purple on here. I seem to remember Becky Boken likes purple. I could be wrong. I just have a feeling she does. Okay, I'm going to come in with some white now. And I'm going to add this element to it. Because it's not something that's going to be, oh, is that going to be enough? I hope so. I don't be squeezing this paint out. I've got another tube of the paint anyway. Right, I want to come in and I want to link up areas. Like these are really interesting. These are really not, but I want to come in with the white and just do areas of this. Now I'm going to do this with a sponge. You've seen me do sponging before. And I dab it on, dab it off. I don't want a thick coating of it because I don't want it to go underneath the stencil. But I do want to have a crispness to the pattern I'm putting down. So it's a fine line between have I got an on there enough or not. I like to do sponging, as you know, so. And this will just add a little bit of interest over the top of that purple or lavender. And I do think I'll come back in a bit and put a deeper purple back into this, but I'm going to do it with a foam stamp instead. There you go. See, that's just, now I'm going to keep it in this orientation, although it's the same as that, only just for my own peace of mind, because otherwise I will just start getting confused as to what's supposed to be what. Am I going to do three lots of this? I don't know. I tend to follow threes as a rule, purely out of habit, I think. But there are times, as long as it's an odd number, I'm kind of okay with that. I want to do just one more down there, just where that was. And up we come. I quite like a little strip of them down here. Just subtle, not a huge amount of them. And actually I might do this very last one down here because that's appealing to me. I do feel I want to bring this down. So luckily enough, it's a repeating pattern, so I can match the stencil up with the area above. And I can then bring this across here. And it will look like it's all one piece. Right, this looks like it needs something as well. If I turn it, I need to bring this down a bit, so let's match that back up with that and work across here into this area. And then match that up one more time. And then that will make sense then visually, because the pattern will have moved down. And actually I'm going to put a little bit just down by here, fading out. Okay, I like that. There's a movement to it. I'd quite like to take this up into this corner just a little bit further though. And this is one of the joys of actually sponging stuff, because I can do this, lift the sponge up and the stencil and put it back down and match it. Whereas if I was doing it on the gel plate, it would be a little bit hit and miss. Okay, liking that. So now I've got to the point where, if I bring this in, I'm going to start working with different groups of patterning, and then potentially going smaller and smaller and smaller in detail, or should I say finer in detail, probably. So I wanted to put the dark purple back in again, because I like the idea of it. I just think I had the wrong purple. I mean, I had this one, and I think I wanted this one. Now I could liven this up a little bit with some red. Maybe we'll mix those two together and see what happens. What have we got to lose? Absolutely nothing. So this was plum purple. It's a colour I made up for a project I was doing a while ago. Right, and if I put a little bit of this with it, I might have to add more purple to this. I'm unsure at the moment. Actually, no, that's okay. Can you see that? That's okay. I'm okay with that colour. Right, I wanted to come in with some dots, and I've got my large bubble wrap stamp here, my foam stamp, the large bubble wrap, because I just fancied adding some of this in, just to add quite a chunk of drama into this. Now, I always tend to turn this when I'm using it so that it's not repeated exactly. And if I've got an area like this, because it's got an organic edge, I can make it grow in different directions. So I just had a thoughtful moment, just need to focus on what I'm doing. I think that across there. Right, I know it's in 4 areas. I'm sure I'm not going to be hunted down by somebody for doing it in 4 areas. Right, I'm liking where that's going now. It's stuck to my plate. Get off the plate. Right, I'm just going to come in on my cleanup sheet and just stamp a few of these around the place, just to give this some interest as well. You never know where this sheet of paper is going to end up. Now, if this video proves to be a little long, which I don't think it's going to, I will edit out certain sections. So therefore, you might suddenly see things are cleaned up when they weren't 2 seconds before, but that's just the way it is, guys. I do the best I can in editing to make sure that you have a good viewing experience, but you're not sat there watching me for hours when actually that's not what you want to do. So here we are, all dried off and cleaned up, ready for the next layer. I think the problem is that, for me looking at this anyway, is I'm composing a 12 by 12 piece, but we're going to be taking a piece about this big out of it. So it's only when I get the cutter out that I'm going to be able to look into this further to see which bits I really want. So it's a bit of an optical thing, but I find that if I create large and then take a section out, I get much more of an impactful piece than if I create it the right size to start with. Also, I get spare pieces. Right, I'm going back to this buttercream colour. I want to do a bit of that paper pressing that I do. You've seen it done by me. So what I do is I take a piece of paper, press it down on the paint, and then give it a quick wipe, and it just adds the faintest bits of something. It just pushes things just into the background. I'm sort of addicted to this process now. Right, I want to put some fine grid work into this. And I've got two options, which is this one, which you've seen me use a lot, and this one. Or I could use a mark making tool and stamp in two directions and do it this way, but I think I want it finer than the mark making tool. Or I could come in with a bit of corrugated cardboard and do it that way. So I have options, but as I said, I want to go finer in the detail, which is making me think I need to step away from this one. Although this would look quite good on here. The question is, what colour would I do? This feels like I want to put a slight touch of white into it, which is odd because it doesn't, or is it white or is it yellow? Maybe it's a little bit of yellow. What sort of yellow have I got? Right, this is one of the yellows we used in the beginning, and I don't want a lot, I just want a little tiny bit here or there. I'm not 100% certain what the yellow is going to do to the purple, so I'm just going to be brave and just, okay, I can deal with that. Okay, that's certainly amped up the vibrancy. But remember, my inspiration was the sunrise. It's just a pretty good sunrise, I can tell you. Right. Put that to one side and give this a bit of a clean up. I think I do want to put white over there as well. Talk about indecisive Griffiths. I think it's, a lot of you have actually mentioned this in your comments, that my work seems to, and I'm paraphrasing here, no one's actually said this to me, but you've said it in other words, that my work seems to go to a point where you're like, oh my God, how's that going to work? And then all of a sudden I do one thing and bang, it's finished. And it's flipped from ugly duckling to swan really quickly. All I can say, guys, is that's purely instinct. I keep going and keep going until I know that I've either totally destroyed it or I've got to the point where I can tell it's done. Actually, I know what's not on here. I've not put a metallic on. That's what I should have put on here, as a metallic. And I should really have put a gold on here, because that's that. You know, I was saying yellow. I probably should have said gold. Right, where's my golds? I've got this soft gold here. This is rich iridescent gold. Is that dry enough to be? Can I pick? That feels dry enough to me. Right, okay, now I've understanding where I'm going. I was too busy chatting and not enough of thinking. This plate needs a good condition after this. I've got 3 5x7s, and this is the oldest one. And the reason it looks like this is not because it's dirty, it's just old and stained, and I cannot even remember how long I've had this for. This plate, it was my very first plate years ago. When I first heard about gel printing, it was my very, very first plate, and I have loved and loved and loved it. And I use it, there you go, that's giving me what I was looking for. And I absolutely love what it does. I've done so many things with the 5x7. Right, there you go, that was my missing link. Right, let's get this on here and put the clean up one on it. And now I can start looking at the finer details that I was a bit confused about. Right, before I start going in with a finer mesh, I'm going to need to dry things, because if I'm going to start using deeper colours now. I just need to dry everything. Okay, so I'm on the final steps now. Probably about 3 more lots of detailing and we're done. So this is now where I want it. I like that gold. The gold was what I was looking for. I was worried about the yellow being too acid. And then, thank goodness, I thought of gold. If I'd have been thinking, I probably would have chosen rose gold or put some red into my gold. Now, seeing this, I've now decided I'm going to do the finer mesh, not the thicker mesh, because there's bold already on here. So I'm going to use, this is sort of a chocolate sort of colour. Again, not exact. Why are you having a moment on me? What's going on here? See, some of these paints are really quite old now, which is why I want to start trying to use up the old ones. And also because, in fairness, I'm telling you this is chocolate brown. I can't tell you what colour it is, but if I start using, as I said, using Lucas Krill, at least if I stay with brands that I'm enjoying, I'll be able to tell what is going on with this. Why aren't you coming out? Why aren't you coming out? What's happening? Oh, okay, I found out what's happening. The bead had blocked the aperture, right? I think that might just be a little bit too much there, but let's see. Oh no, actually it won't be bad. Oh, disaster diverted. So I'm going to come in now with my mesh. I'm just going to press it down on here. And it's so easy to line up this stuff. This is plastic mesh. I get it from Hobbycraft. It's basically for making dimensional pieces. Like you can embroider through it, almost like cross stitch, and then you can take those to another level and stitch them together. It was something that was around, I want to say 70s, 80s-ish. And like people would make like handbags out of it. You could make pot holders. You could make not napkins, or they Kleenex holders for boxes. There was lots of things people were doing with it at the time. I'm just coming in and giving myself what it. There you go. Let's just clean this up on my cleanup sheet. I'm going to come in now and I'm going to put black into this, and I'm going to use my, oh gosh, what are these called? These are either mark making dots or sketchy dots. It's a foam stamp of my design, because this needs black. And then I'm going to come in with some red, because remember all the way along I said I wanted to put red into this, and the red will add the extra bit of drama. And I know that between the black and the red, I'm going to have to pause, because there's no way I can do black and red at the same time. I've probably got a little bit too much there, but I can always stamp it off on something. Right. Don't have too thick of a coating when you use a foam stamp, because if you look at a foam stamp, there's not a lot of difference between the surface that's printing and the background surface. If it's too thick, it will transfer through. Now, I usually press in the middle, because sometimes the process of laser cutting foam stamps means that they distort slightly. So I'm going to look into areas that have pretty much nothing in them, and I'm going to build into this a larger pattern. And that's what I like about these stamps with organic edges. You can just build them. Sorry, having a real thought then. I'd quite like something there. I'd like to put something in here, but Can I do this without doing the whole thing? Okay, I got away with it. Okay, I think that's okay. Right, I'm going to have to pause the video because this needs to dry before going to red, and I'm going to use this up on a spare. Okay, all dry, ready for the finishing touches now. Now I'm going to put red into this, and I'm going to use quite a fiery red, because all the way along I said I wanted red in it, and I do want red in it. Now, I do not want small pattern now, because I've got all of the small stuff here. If I put more small, it's going to look really weird. So I'm going to bring in, this is my washi tape stamp. Now, I'm going to do something that's probably going to mortify quite a few people at this point. I'm going to break this apart. I'm going to try and get these edges off it. Right, that can just get thrown in my drawer. Now, breathe, please everybody breathe. I was asked probably about 6 weeks ago whether I would see whether I could make the original one of these into a foam stamp. I have done that. It launched about a week ago. So there is now, I think it's about 5.5 inches long, the original one that you've just seen me break up. And then I did one approximately half size. So they're both at PM Artist Studio. And when my order arrives, I will show it to you, because obviously we're dealing with international mailing here. When it arrives, you will then see me use it. So I don't actually need the original anymore, because I've got one that I've the designed one, which is fabulous. So I'm going to use this now, because this has got smaller elements in it, but you see it will fit within where I want to put this. So I'm hoping this isn't too fluid. This, I don't know about fluid. It's very excited to come and see us. So, right. That's not enough. I can tell immediately. And then this will be for the background, which is wonderful once I've got all these on. So I'm just pressing this down, just making sure I've got a reasonable coating of paint. And then, as you saw, now press it down, gently press all the different areas down. See, it just gives me what I was looking for. Come in again, come in through here. I don't mind it going over the black. In fact, I quite like it to go over the black. A smaller piece of it down here. Now remember, I'm cutting this up smaller, so I'm probably doing more on here than I would normally do if it was a full 12 by 12, but I'm giving myself options. Currently, I'm really liking this piece in here. I think I was considering that I want to add just a little bit there and a little bit down here. Right. Yeah, this is calling, actually I quite like that bit as well. Right, major cleanup now. So everything's cleaned away, everything's dry, even my hands are relatively clean. So let's have a look at the cleanup sheet first of all. I mean, look at that. That's the cleanup. This is on that newsprint offcut paper that I like to use. It could have been on any paper, to be honest, whatsoever, but I like that. That's definitely going to be turned into something in one of my art journals. Not necessarily the big one, maybe a small one. It could even, never mind. You get what I mean? I think that looks gorgeous. Then the piece de resistance. There you go, guys. I'm loving this. And I mean, I'll pull it up a little closer for you. I can see every single thing we did. Like, there's the wallpaper in there. There's the small Becky Boken stencil. There's a bigger version of it. There's the bubble wrap. There's the dots. There's the circles. There again's Becky's stuff. There's the lavender coming through here and here. So when people ask me, why do I do so many layers and half of them get covered up? I do it because without all those layers, this wouldn't look like this. It's really hard to explain, except just believe me, it wouldn't look like this if I didn't go through and get all of the layers completely done as they're done. Right, now I'm going to have to look now and see whether I can find within this a piece that we want. Now, I kind of was drawn to areas of this as I was doing it, so I've been turning it around as I've been looking at it. And for me, I really like this area here or this area here, but this is the one that keeps calling to me. I mean, I could also do a piece out of there. So I think what we need to do is to work out roughly what we're looking at. So just pull in a couple of spare bits of paper. So I'm reckoning, let's get my ruler. Oh, this one will do. Right, so I know it can't be any more than 7.5 wide. So it's probably to there. And it can't be any more than 8.5 tall. So basically, we've got quite an expanse I can pull on. And if I pull this over to there, it would probably be that. I mean, it's up to me to chop and change wherever I want. I mean, to be honest with you, this piece in the middle might work. Actually, that piece in the middle might work really well. Right, so I've got an idea. Okay, I do quite like that section there, actually, which I don't know what size the offcuts will be, but they'll either become tags or artist trading cards or just strips for something in the future. So I have my guillotine here, and I'm going to bring in, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to put it on screen for you, but I've already put the numbers on and I've signed it, and this is the area I'm going to be sticking it to, and I will show you when we're sticking it down. So just as a reference for me, 8.5 is the absolute maximum, 7.5 is the absolute maximum. That 7.25 would be better. So, oh, and that reminds me too, these numbers that I've been using, someone asked me what they were. It was this stamp of mine that I just stamped onto tissue, and I've been tearing and cutting the numbers out. But I think what I'm going to do before next year's challenge is I'm going to get all of the numbers in a row, 1 all the way through to 0, in one strip made up, so that anyone who wants to do this, you just stamp it onto tissue and you just cut them up there and put them on. So I'm going to have a word with Mariah, and I'm going to play around with that idea. So you might see that coming out before next year, because it would certainly help me. So right, we said 8.5 by 7.25, didn't we? Right. So I'm thinking about here. I think that will be down there. Right, we're committed to that then. Right, so that means this has to be 7.25. Right, so this is our panel. I like that way better. So now I'm looking for 8.5. So 8.5 will give me to about there. I quite like this bit. And I quite like this bit. Right, I know I don't like all of that at the top, so let me just trim that down just because it's confusing me. Right, so 8.5 maximum, I said. So 8.5, let's go to 8.25, just give myself some giggle room. So that means it will get cut off there. I'd rather it's cut off a little bit lower. Right, let's just take that off there and go this way. So I said 8.25, or just about. Right, we've got our panel. Isn't it amazing how different that now looks? Right, so what have I got? I've got strips. How wide is this? 2-inch strip. Right, okay. So these will go into my scraps. Said box, because they could become clusters and things. This could cut down to 2.5. And then if I go 3.5, going from this end. There you go. I've got 3 artist trading cards as well. So, and then I've still got little strips that could go back into that box. So these will just go into my box of artist trading card backs. Occasionally I pull out some and I work with them, but that's where we're at. Now let's just make sure this fits on the page. And here we come to the juggling act that is this. Right, can you see? You can see. If I open that up, you'll be able to see better. Right, so this, well, actually, yes, it will fit. I didn't think it was going to fit for a second. Right. And I think I like it that way up. Basically, because this fleur-de-lis piece looks like it should be that way up. And I'm going to come in, I'm going to round the corners, because you know I like to round the corners. And I'm going to do the same, the small one. As I said, it's just subtle, but it just works for me. Yes, I'm liking that. And I'm okay without having a focal point, because this will always remind me of the sunrise I saw this morning. And I think for me personally, this works. It's not meant to be a journal card, it's just a background. So I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to glue this down. I'm going to put glue stick in the middle, and I'm going to put little glue around the edge. And then when I come back, I'll do a close-up as I normally do, so you can all see where we're at. So here you go, guys, all stuck down, all signed, sealed, delivered, and finished. I'm liking that. That's cool. Compared to everything else I've done, I like that just as much. What I'm doing for the last day, I have no idea. I've gone through quirky ideas like doing a big 3 and a 1, or goodbye, or the finale, or do a little character waving or crying or something like that. But I don't know. I don't know. That's going to be something I'm going to have to think on through the night and come up with something. I might keep it simple. I might do complex. I don't know. I just don't know. So I like everything we put into this. I can still see all the different elements in this one piece. There's the wallpaper. There's the small version of Becky Boken stencil. There's the larger version. There's the grid. There's the washi tape stamp. There's the dots. There's the bubble wrap. I can still see the lilac through it. I can still see every single color on there. I can see the fine mesh. I'm liking that. That's just, to me, that's my sunset page. And on that note, I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's Ceri the Crafter. Until tomorrow. Goodbye now.